Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. MJ Outcalt-Hill. I'm president of the board of the Desert Hot Springs Historical Society at the Historic Rock House Museum. And I'm so excited that you're here for the last lecture of 2025. We're going to start up again in 2026, the first Saturday of each month. Please think of us. At the end of the year, I want to put out a wonderful thank you to our volunteers. This wouldn't happen without 100%, almost 100% volunteers that run this organization. And I want to also thank the sponsors that are giving of their goods and services that really keep us going. So thank you so much. Last of all, I want to thank the members. Please, I appreciate your support. Talk us up, tell your friends how much fun you're having here, and ask them to be members too. So again, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this growing organization. It's a magical place. So if you would like to spend some time here, please think about being a volunteer as well. So with that being said, I would like to give it to our Vice President of the Board, Larry Peters. Thanks, Larry.
So, we do every month during this lecture try to recognize a volunteer. As MJ said, that's what runs this. We're a nonprofit, right? So Marge is going to do our presentation today of the volunteer that we're recognizing.
It's my pleasure to make a very special announcement. You may have caught it when MJ gave the welcome, but I think it's excellent timing, appropriate day to give this special recognition because we're speaking today about education. The Desert Hot Springs Historical Society is really very, very privileged to have the excellent leadership of our president, MJ Outcalt-Hill. You will be some of the first to know that just last month her dissertation at UCLA was approved and
National.
she is now Dr. MJ. We are already cooperating greatly.
Where did you say?
National
Oh,
University.
okay, all right,
Yes.
National
I'm
University.
sorry,
It's okay.
I was told UCLA.
It's
so-
okay. Thank you so much. I'll take doctorate.
You'll take both, right? So we're already profiting greatly from her research and her studies, and we're very honored and proud of your achievements, MJ. Thank you for all you do for the volunteers, as a volunteer for the Historical Society. And we would be happy if you would like to give us a few words about the journey and getting the doctorate. And we would like to give from us this plant and wishing you a very happy holidays.
Thank you so much. I should have done the support of everyone here. Because this is, whoa, you guys got me. So I just want to recognize our superintendent of schools. Thank you so much. And John Gerardi, our board member from our schools today. Please let's give them a hand because I'm working as a professor of teachers at the universities. We're all here together to support our kids. All our kids are everybody's responsibility. Thank you so much.
Okay. I hate to keep walking.
And I'm introducing Randa Ray, our event coordinator, who has put everything together.
And you don't have to clap. I would like to invite all of you to avoid terrible embarrassment by setting your phones on silent or something. Because there's nothing quite like having your phone go off and everybody turns around and looks at you. I've had it happen too many times. So welcome today to Education School Days in the Desert. And we're going to begin with Larry, and then we'll pick it up from there. Okay? You have the rest of the papers, I think.
No, I do not. You want what you gave me back?
No, I
you gonna do slides for me, Randa? Okay, hi, I was given the pleasure, we should move that somewhere. I've been given the pleasure of talking about the very first school, the very first teacher. And she's a very inspiring person, I have to tell you. She wrote a short autobiography, which I encourage you all to read, but I'll give you some highlights of it today. She was born in Corona, but her family moved to Los Angeles in maybe 1908. She got her teaching credential, which was a 2-year program at the time, and wanted to be a teacher immediately, but the Los Angeles School District, which wasn't so small, there were 350,000 people in LA at that time, they only had substitute positions available. So she found out that there was this job available in the desert, and it was only like 100 miles away, and you could take a train there. So she said, well, I want to teach, that's what I want to do. So she made arrangements to come, and she starts her story by talking about packing a trunk with her sister. She was 20.
And her name was Ethel.
Ethel Roos. I should have introduced her, Ethel Roos. So I'll talk about Ethel. They were packing the trunk, and her sister said, you know, I think you should pack your coat. And she said, I'm going to the desert. Nobody needs a coat in the desert. Dry heat, you know. And so she gets on the train. Her sister gets the coat in her trunk, but she doesn't have the coat, it's in her trunk. She gets on the train, takes the ride from LA to Garnet, which is the same train station that we have here now, such as it is. And she got off the train and fell down from wind blowing her down. Now we don't know we don't know what that is, right? This was mid-September probably of 1912. So she is met by Mrs. McGarver, she refers to her as the widow McCarter, I should say, McCarter, and by Jack Riley, whom she refers to as the bachelor Riley. I guess in 1912, your marital status was a really important way of identifying you. In fact, she almost never uses their first name. She only talks about the widow or the bachelor. Here's the bachelor. This right here is Jack Riley, and this was the first place he lived in 1909. He was the first person to get a land grant in 1909. And this was down by the corner of Dillon and Mountain View, somewhere in that area. Randa still lives there, and this is her great uncle, 2 greats.
1908.
1908 is when the year, I thought it was 9. Okay, so 1908, he looks like a lean and hungry man, doesn't he? Like, I hope he's getting enough to eat. But he was in the desert here, and there were some strange people roaming around that we find out about. But anyway, they were driving her from the station in a cart with mules, you know, of course that's what they had. And about halfway here from the station, Mrs. McCarter turned to her and said, I have something I need to tell you, and I'm really afraid to tell you. And she said, well, what's the big deal? There's no problem. She said, I was afraid you'd get back on the train and go back to LA. And she said, come on, tell me. She said, there's no school. There's no school. It's like she was so afraid to admit that they didn't have a place to have this school. So she said, don't worry, we'll make it work. The school for 3 weeks was on the dining room table, a round table, she described it, in Mrs. McCarter's house. She had 4 children that were 4 of the students, and they needed a total of 10. There was another family that had 5. So they arranged to get the son of the station manager to pretend to be a student for a couple of weeks so they could get Riverside County to agree to give them the school. Anyway, so this school is going on in the dining room, and one day they go up and discover where the new school's going to be, and the widow says, look, here's the school, and Ethel says, well, there's just a hole in the ground. She said, oh yeah, you'll see, it's cooler underground, and we're going to build a structure. You can see her selling this whole ridiculous thing to try to sell. So they used the same hole that he lived in, and it had been filled with sand. So Jack Riley is digging out the sand. Here's a picture of it. Look. I think we live a little differently now. Look at this. I mean, anyway, so they finally got the school dug out, And they appealed to people from, I guess, Indio to Banning for pieces of material to build a school out of. And they got metal sheets somewhere for the roof, they got sides, and they had 4 holes that were windows. And 2 of them had wood with a prop to let them down, and one of them had glass. This came up constantly, a real glass window. And then they had one that was just an open hole. So when she first went into the school, she had no blackboard, no desks. You know, MJ was losing it before. This, when you really care about little kids, it just starts to get you. But she didn't have paper. She taught the littlest kids to write their ABCs, and she made stone counting was the way that they did the math. I've been a teacher, so it's very hard to accept the fact that these little kids wanted to learn that bad. And their parents wanted them to learn that bad. So she made it happen. There it is. And it was about 4 feet deep in the ground. And then the rest of the structure happened on top of it. She finally was able to get a blackboard, and desks were just pieces of wood that were held up by ropes on the wall. But that's better than nothing, right? And she taught in that school, I think, until about February. And then we got another school. You have that picture of the, oh, here's some kids here.
This is at that.
This is at the new school.
The new school.
Right, which was near the corner of Dillon and Bubbling Wells, which is not that far from Mountain View. She's an interesting character, and clearly a woman who's 20 who would come to this place to be a teacher has to be an interesting character, doesn't she? She mentions in her memoir that she met Cabot Yerxa, whom she thought was a very handsome man and loved to talk about his adventures. He remembered by now he had already been to Cuba, he had already been to Alaska selling cigars. Imagine the stories he had to tell. She also knew probably the most interesting person to me historically in Desert Hot Springs, and that is Hilda Gray. About 2 months ago, I lived just up the hill here. We had a power outage that left it completely black. And I walked outside and I thought, how did these people do this? How did Hilda Gray, 27, 28 years old, she had a dog, she had chickens, that was her food. She had apparently a little kind of a store where she sold some necessities, kind of a thing. But she was a paralegal. She came up from like someplace down by LA. And I'm always fascinated by what drives these people. And it turns out that she had a land grant just south of Two Bunch, somewhere in that area. And she sat on it for 5 years and built a house, and damn if it didn't become her 160 acres of land, because that's how it worked. But the story of Desert Hot Springs is really a story about strong women. And this organization will be exploring that over the next years. Hilda Gray is going to come up, and there are a number of other people that need to be recognized. The thing that happened with Hilda is one of the students broke her leg, and Hilda came to help to splint the leg and so on and so forth, which is a nice story. That girl had to go to LA to be in the hospital, and her mother, Mrs. McCarter, went with her. So Ethel Roos had to cook all the food for all the kids and all the family. She had to keep the household going the whole time. And she left after the first year. And it's like, well, how dare she leave a situation so acceptable? Do you have that picture of the new school yet?
Yep, right there.
Wow.
There it is. You
This
say,
was
wow.
taken, this is a picture of the new school, but this picture actually is in the 1920s, because that's like 21 or 22, because that's my great grandmother and my grandmother and her husband standing in front of it. So this is, the school's been there now up until 2021, 22.
And the school is not there now.
It is not there.
It burned down, am I correct? Or we don't know what
We
happened
don't
to
know.
it. And we don't know exactly where it was. It's kind of sad, isn't it? But as I close real fast, I want to give you the very last thing that she says in her memoir. She says, the school year ended, but friendships that I made on that desert homestead land, they have lasted these many years or until death took some. I still enjoy going back to visit my friends, and I always look to see if that hole in the ground is still there where I once taught school. It's a great story, and I think it needs more exploration, and I think I'm gonna write a play about her, because school kids need to know about it. Yeah.
Is the memoir available?
The memoir, we can make it available to you, sure. I can email it probably, I can take a picture of it. It's really interesting, yeah.
Oh,
okay. How about if I email it to you and then you can make it disseminated for us, okay? Here you go.
Mary, for anyone interested in some of those pictures, this book is for sale over here, the Arcadia book. If you're interested in it, purchasing it afterwards, let us know.
And let's give you up.
Now I need that piece of paper, Jill, the one that's right on the top right there. That one.
Is Jill next? You're next, aren't you? Okay. You're next.
I am next, but actually, Jill has my list. Did anybody see something that looks like this laying around? I have lost my notes.
Take it, just tell me when to change.
Okay, thank you, I will. I got it.
That's what you do.
Like I said, don't clap, because I'm not organized. Okay, as Larry said, between the time that this schoolhouse was built and 1921, 22, we don't know much about it. We don't know who taught there. We don't know what children went there, how many, there are no records. I couldn't find them anyplace. So between like 1922 and 1940-ish, the children either went there or they went somewhere else. We do know that a lot of them were homeschooled, but there weren't very many children in Desert Hot Springs at all. Desert Hot Springs became part of the Palm Springs School District in 1945, and the children who lived here at that time, we know were transported to Palm Springs because Jim Haydett, who moved to Desert Hot Springs around 1943, and he's 91 years old, still alive, he said, yeah, my dad used to take me down to Garnet, although at that time we called it Garnett. So he took us down to Garnet, and a guy in a Model T Ford picked us up and drove us to Palm Springs. Now think about that, talking about the wind and the sand and the water that sometimes floods, but they made it to Palm Springs for school. But there was a lot of problems getting across the wash and all. So in September of 1946, there were about 30 school-age children living in Desert Hot Springs, and Palm Springs, which was not Palm Springs Unified, it was just Palm Springs School District, leased the old improvement hall, which was on Pearson Boulevard, kind of where the Spread is now, you know, the restaurant there. It was right near there. It has since, of course, been torn down. But Jim Haydett went to that. It was for grades 1 through 6, and they had one teacher, and he says her name was Miss Rutledge. They started with 5 children when Jim was in the 5th grade, and they eventually grew to 12 children all in one room. The others presumably went either to Palm Springs or to Banning, and we don't have a record of that. There was a high school in Banning, so there was also a high school in Palm Springs. We think it was Palm Springs. But, shortly thereafter, around 1947, the school district purchased a 5-acre site between 2nd Street and 4th Street, where the Desert Hot Springs Elementary School was. Do any of you remember that being there? I mean, some of us went there, but yeah. Okay. It's where the Casa del Sol office or apartment complex is now, right across the street from the Water District. And the office for Casa del Sol is right where the office used to be. I can picture that. By March 1947, a 3-classroom wing on the 5-acre site was completed. John Nichols was a teaching principal and had 2 additional teachers. In September of 1948, Joe Kenya succeeded Nichols as principal, and in November of that year, the second wing of 3 classrooms was opened. So there were then 6 rooms, and in 1949, they put in a kindergarten. In 1951, they started a bus run to Palm Springs. I'm sorry, not to Palm, to North Palm Springs, and picked up children from the North Palm Springs area and brought them to Desert Hot Springs also. They had a cafeteria. They brought in 30 to 40 children on that bus run. Cafeteria service started in 1952, and in 1954, they had a bond election. Those are always good things, aren't they, Dr. Funchess? A bond election, school bonds, providing a multi-purpose cafeteria, an additional classroom, and an administrative unit. And the South Addition was completed in 1957. So everything was there, and then they put in fencing and a teacher's lounge, improved the play area, library, bus port, parking areas, and landscaping. So, Jill, I'll let you put a slide up now. The next one is blank, and then the next one is when I started school in Desert Hot Springs mid-year in 1954. My teacher was Mrs. Rogers, and who later became the 6th grade teacher. And her husband was a mortician. And she used to tell us really funny stories about people who they thought were dead suddenly sitting up because of rigor mortis or something. Really, in 6th grade it was really funny. I don't remember her telling us those things in kindergarten. But since I had come from Santa Rosa, California, big town, comparatively speaking, it seemed like a pretty small school to me. There were 17 children in my 1st grade class. And so most of the kids, as you'll see as we go through, were the same kids. Some new came, but hardly anybody left, which was really nice. You just kind of got to know everybody. So some things I remember from my elementary school days. Saying the flag salute every morning, and I still think of, if I'm going to figure out which is my right hand, it is the one that faces the classroom door when you're facing each, because that's where the flag is. Flag salute every morning. Accidentally wearing my baby doll pajama bottoms to school under my dress. And the wind, of course, blew, and I got teased and laughed at, and it was so embarrassing. And I rode the bus to school every day from my house out on Mountain View, and it went, the bus route from where I got, it went through B-Bar-H, up Mountain View, out to Sky Valley, to the fire station, the old fire station, came back in, went through the Highlands. I mean, it seemed like I was on the bus for an hour a day, and I probably was. 2nd grade, click that slide, Joe. 2nd grade, Miss Cornelius. I remember playing on the playground. They had a tetherball, a swing, and a jungle gym, and a giant metal slide that was so hot in the sun you could have cooked eggs on it. And I climbed up it one day and slipped on the front step, and I still have the scar right there from going down the steps. You're not supposed to go down the steps. But there was no AstroTurf. There was no grass. There was dirt and rocks and no shade.
Where are you in the picture?
Oh, which one is me? That one right there. That's me. With my hair pulled up. I remember mid-morning milk breaks. Do you guys remember mid-morning milk breaks? And you had a little blue card, and it cost a nickel. And if you didn't bring your nickel in, they didn't give you milk, or you could get the poor kids' milk. They would give you one, but everybody knew they didn't punch your card that day. So, a little punch card that was blue, and the lunch card itself was yellow. And I remember working in the cafeteria, and I got to punch lunch cards. Third grade. In third grade, we took oh, and now you can tell which one I am. That's me. In third grade, I remember taking classes with the American Red Cross, and in fact, I've got a slide in here, the next slide shows taking classes with the American Red Cross. I forgot to tell you that, Jill, you can click one. There should be a slide, yeah, there it is. And I got to get an award for taking Red Cross classes. I remember there was a snowstorm that year where we all went outside and caught snowflakes on our tongues. Wasn't as big as the big one in the 70s, but there was snow in Desert Hot Springs. And I remember that was about the time we started getting polio vaccines on a little sugar cube with a little pink stuff, and they dropped it on the sugar cube, and all the kids got that, and that's how we got immunized. Okay, in grade 4, by now you guys can figure out which one is me. The one with the little corsage on the left-hand side of the second row. Do you remember, maybe you remember this, they had powdered soap in the bathrooms. And you got it on your hand and you put a little water in it and you went like this and you made this little ball and then you threw it up on the ceiling and it stuck. Oh, the janitors used to get so mad. That was one of the things we did. And I remember walking with my class for 2 blocks down to the corner of Palm and Pearson where the DHS variety store was. It was an original 5 and dime store. And we bought washcloths and soap and toothbrushes and toothpaste and combs, and we put them in little boxes and we shipped them off to poor children somewhere. I don't know where. But our class raised money so we could go and buy boxes to send to poor children. So I remember doing it, I don't remember why. I remember a crazy hat party at school where I dressed as a Hawaiian island. That's me under the hula skirt there.
Oh, not funny.
But you know, there wasn't a lot to do in Desert Hot Springs. So the schools did a lot to entertain and to keep people occupied. I won a prize for that. I also remember duck and cover drills. Do you remember duck and cover drills?
Yeah.
You had to get underneath your desk and curl up in a ball in case there was a nuclear attack. Like, that was gonna really help.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, grade 5. I walked up to coffee pools. That's grade 5, I'm in the middle, the cute one, yeah. But my mom worked at coffee pools. You can click one more slide. That's me on the diving board at Coffee's Pools. My mom had a gift shop up there, and that's where I learned to roller skate because that was one of the few places where there was pavement. They took a dim view of me roller skating around the area, but anyway, that's something I remember from 5th grade. And I also got involved in a book club at school, and I was the president. And if you see mine, that's me. All those. My brother we still have that hanging in my basement. And my brother will come down and be like, wow. And I brought, just for your entertainment, some of the book series that came out when I was a kid, and you may remember the cover. This is, this particular one is the 5 Little Peppers and how they grew.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a whole series of 5 Little Pepper books, and they all look just like this. Copyright on this 1948, I think. And I thought it was interesting. Yeah, copyright 1948, but this one was given to me in 1959. So there was that series. There was a whole series of books that looked just like this that you may have had. And they were all the children's classic stories. So if you are interested in books, Told Under Spacious Skies, Tales Told Under the Magic Umbrella, I liked to read. And my mom worked at the library too later on in years. That was wonderful. Okay, 6th grade. I remember having to learn to square dance for all the programs, and I was always taller than any of the boys, and it was really embarrassing. I was in charge of the school library. I went down to the 1st grade classroom during time when I had my homework done and helping little kids learn to read. And I remember my biggest remembrance from all of school, I think, is Joe Canyon. That's Joe Canyon. He was the principal. He doesn't have it in his hand right there, but in his right hand, he had a key ring, came off like this, and had keys on the bottom, came off his belt, and he would walk around like this. And he had a paddle with holes in it. And he carried that too. You remember Mary? So anyway, those are some of my memories from elementary school in Desert Hot Springs. And now I will turn it over to, well, before I do that, I want to just say a word about Wenzloff School. In June of 1974, Palm Springs Unified School District initiated plans to purchase land and begin construction on a new elementary school in Desert Hot Springs, at which time they closed the 2nd Street location. I'm not sure, and I couldn't find it, but we were always told that it was because it was in an earthquake zone. And the new school had many people involved in that planning process. And one of the things that they did with parents and educators was find a place that did not have earthquake problems. So they recommended to buy the site over here where Wenzloff School is now. Now it's an alternative school, and but it was the only elementary school then here up until Corsini School was built in 1980. So they moved everything from there to over here, and I think later on found out that it was in an earthquake. So what can you say?
Isn't the whole place an earthquake zone?
Yes, and Bella Vista, which they built Bella Vista to replace Wenzloff, is in an earthquake zone.
The whole town
Yeah.
is.
So anyway, we have unique challenges here, but I wanted to give a plug to the teachers who were part of the design of Wenzloff School. They requested that there be partial vinyl floors near drinking fountains, sinks in each room, windows high up for indirect light, 2 doors in each classroom, and chalkboards adjusted to the height of the students to be in that room. Teachers. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jill. Hibbard, my maiden name was Maury. I went, her grad year that she left, I started kindergarten. And in some of the pictures she shows, my brother's in there, because they went to school all the way through together. So I went from 60 to 68. And in that time, not a lot of change happened. We got a bungalow, 1 extra classroom up on the 3rd tier. That was probably the only extra classroom. We got grass in between the 2nd tier and the 3rd, I realized that. Canyon was still the principal when I went there. And it's amazing when I look up, when I found pictures, trying to find pictures, school pictures, I found more of her classes than mine, which was kind of funny. But
That's because Bruce was in my class.
yes.
Her brother was in my class.
And when I started, kindergarten was already there, and I just drove by where the school used to be, and the front foyer is pretty much the same. The office and what used to be the cafeteria is still being used. It was the other side of that they tore down, and then they tore down the other buildings and put the other area there. One of the things, she has a great memory, by the way. She remembers things that I don't have a memory of. but she brought memories back to me. But one of the things with square dancing was a lot of things. A lot of teachers had a lot more participation than you see teachers today in activities after school, in the community, because it was such a small community. To kind of give you a kind of a background, my grandparents came here in the early 40s and they had a home on the corner of Cactus and Pearson. And my father followed after World War II, bought a chicken ranch out in just off of Hacienda, and we didn't have chickens, but that's what it originally was. And this was a town that there wasn't a lot of kids because it was really considered a retirement area because of the water and the sun and all that. And I asked Randa if she remembers this, but school, we had swamp coolers, didn't have air conditioning. And so that was, we didn't think about heat, it didn't bother us, we played out in it, we didn't think about it was hot. And we had lizards running through our playground, and big lizards running through the playground, which you don't see anymore. But this was just a great little area to grow up. I think that during that time we were at 2,500 to 3,000 population. And I look back and there's probably, I looked in a class picture I have of mine, half of the kids that were in my class are, like she said, are still in the area. So, and your mother was also at the other school, and where my kids went to school, elementary school was there at Winslow when they closed down Desert Hot Springs Elementary because of earthquake fault, but now people can live there. And then they closed that one for the same reason. But I was fortunate enough when it came time to go from elementary school, then I went to Palm Springs. We were bused to Palm Springs, and Randa went to Nellie and Kaufman. Well, by the time I got there, it was Raymond Cree was built, and then from there I went to high school, and it wasn't till the 2000 that there was a high school here. So my grandkids went there, and I am proud to say that my family, my granddaughter just graduated, is 4th generation Palm Springs High School graduate. Because my mom's side, they came here in 35 in Palm Springs. So that's about all I have to share. It was a great little community to live in. And I used to come down the street. My girlfriend lived across the street in high school. I never noticed this house because it used to be covered with tamarisk trees all in front. So it didn't click that it was even here. Then when I got involved a little over a year ago, it was like a real eye-opener. And any of you that aren't members or volunteers, this is a fun group and a neat thing. Even if you've never lived here, it's just neat to be involved. So, thank you.
Mary? It's my turn. It's my turn. You got it.
Daniel. So, that's me. That's me, and I think it's first grade, should have been kindergarten, but.
I'm gonna make it bigger.
Okay.
There we go.
So, my grandparents, actually, they purchased a lot on the corner of 12th Street in Santa Cruz in the 50s, and they built a motel, a 4-unit motel, and they, retired out here, and then they used that for income. And so my grandparents ran it until the 60s, middle 60s, and then my parents came out to take over for them. So, because of declining health. And so that's where we lived, and my mom was the secretary at the elementary school in Yucca Valley. And so when she came down here to the desert in '68, she wanted to be the secretary of the elementary school here in town, but there was a secretary still here. So she was very picky, and she didn't want to teach or didn't want to work anywhere else. So she worked at the Desert Hospital for a few years until 1972, when my brother came home from school and said, "Hey, Mom, the secretary is retiring." So she put her application in, and she became the secretary. And she was the secretary for the school from '72, and she retired in 1997. And so this was just fun pictures. This is the first picture we actually did cooking. We had like, I'm sure this was a class about math or something, but it was more about cooking and baking, so that was kind of fun. And then this is like first grade, and then this is sixth grade, so that's at the new school. And there's Mr. Wensloff, so there's the principal, and just a couple kids in our class. So if you go to the next slide, so this is just some pictures of the school sites. Old school on the left, just different pictures. What I remember about this is that my mom, I started kindergarten when my mom started was a secretary, so I got to ride to school with her. So I didn't take the bus at that point. I always rode with her to school. And some of the fun things that I remember, of course, were my favorite teacher was my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Stark. And the cafeteria, I guess, was kind of by the first grade and the kindergarten classes in the picture, and I think, is it over here? I think the buses come in this way, so it might be over here. Like here's the buses, they come in, and there's a long walkway, we used to have to walk down here, and they say my secretary, my mom's office was over here. I remember it on a different side, but who knows. Anyway, I remember painting classes, cookies. You guys mentioned milk and cookies, so kindergartners, we got milk and cookies. They would come in, give us milk and cookies. You could smell the cookies baking, it smelled so good. I don't remember any phone contact from the individual classrooms to the office at this point, so I'll explain why that's important later. Recess, I remember our recess and playing and running in between the two long buildings. We played like red light, green light. And there's a long hallway, the covered hallway, and I'm sure they told us this to keep us in line, but they told us we had to walk down one way and walk back up the other way because of the earthquake fault. I'm sure it was just to keep us in line. They don't believe it, but at the time, you believe what you're told. So, in the next slide, so there's Mr. Kanya. So this is from first grade or kindergarten. There's my mom. She was the secretary. There's all the teachers from that first year, and that's my kindergarten picture there on the top row, the third one over. Let's see. And then the next slide. Oh, so the fault, if you go back to the slides with the school picture, just go back, if you can go back to. That's all right, you don't have to.
I just have to do it a different way.
I don't know, they told us the fault was so close, it like ran through over this way.
Yeah.
Like for reference, so it kind of ran through, maybe like over here.
Is that Palm Drive where your finger just was, or is that west? I'm
That's
confused.
Palm.
Okay, so that's the old school.
That's the old
Okay.
school, so we're still at the old school. Okay, you can keep going. So fun stuff that we did.
One more.
So this is the lunchroom, teachers, having lunch. There's one of my report cards. I put it in there because I thought it was so funny. It says that I talked a lot. I can't believe that.
I can vouch.
I just thought it was cute. I have all these old report cards. I have the test scores from our tests that we have to take. So I thought it was really cute that my mom saved all that stuff. And those are just random school pictures of the school. Okay.
One thing neat is our lunches were so good.
Oh man,
You could smell it during recess.
wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
good.
And on Friday you had fish sticks
Mhm.
or mac and cheese.
Always.
Yeah.
Because they used to have people cook your food.
Yes, right there at the
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
That's good.
35 cents.
Sloppy Joes were good. Those were good. Okay, if you go to the next slide. So this is transitioning to the new school. So here's the old school. This is the new school being built. Picture of the new school. So the newspaper clipping, they decided that, they were gonna give the community and kids a chance to get involved and help clear the land where the school was at. Really what they wanted us to do was pick up rocks. So we went around, we picked up rocks. it was a lot of fun. We rode around in the back of pickup trucks. There was no safety measures. We never had hard hats. We didn't have gloves. We didn't have goggles. We didn't, nobody cared. I mean, that's just the way it was. But it was fun because we got involved and we got to kind of clear the land. So it was kind of a fun opportunity for us. So if you go to the next slide. So then, it was an article in the Desert Sentinel about selling the land that the school was on. So it was gonna go up for auction. Its starting bid was $70,000. And so the circle, or the big square, that's where the school is. And then my mom, she kind of wrote different things like, here's Bank of America, Horton's Market, there's the theater, here's the park. This is the motel where my grandparents lived. This is the house that we moved into. So it's just kind of like an overview, kind of shot at Desert Hot Springs. I thought that was kind of cool. So, and then if you go to the next slide, it's just random pictures of stuff that we did. We did a play. It was kind of fun. Everything's new. It's a new school. Everything is shiny, new. Classrooms were built with dividing walls, which was very fun. You could separate the walls and have a really big classroom, so you'd have like second grade and third grade, or third grade and third grade together. So it was kind of fun to do that. One of the great memories I had, well, I don't know, we used to stand in line, it wasn't a good memory, it was a memory. Stand in line for vaccinations in front of the library, which that was kind of weird, but we all did that. Theater productions. There's my mom. You see the phone behind her? That's the hotline to the classrooms. So, anytime you got in trouble, boom. So, I could never get in trouble because who got the phone call? So, that's how it was. I could not, there was like no getting at anything. So, if you go to the next slide. Random pictures. Snakes. I don't know. Do you have animals in class now?
Sometimes.
So we had rats, mice as pets, snakes, hamsters, and then in the summertime they had to go home with somebody because they couldn't stay in the classroom. So I ended up with a hamster. My brother ended up with a rat. Just fun stuff. We had really great experiences at the school. What else? Mr. Diamond was a teacher. He was a hang glider, so he'd bring his hang glider to class and he'd put it out on the playground and he'd put it all together to show us how to do it. And I thought that was a good memory. Presidential fitness testing. I didn't enjoy that too much, but it was okay, but not my favorite thing to do. The regular testing was totally not my favorite thing to do. So there's my mom. She was like the nurse. So Mr. Wentzoff became the principal in 1978. Everybody loved him. I just remember seeing him on the playgrounds all the time. So he's always on the playgrounds helping us out. So I had a cute story my brother reminded me of from Mrs. Steffen. She was a 6th grade teacher. And somebody broke into the elementary school. And so she addressed her class and she asked everybody if anybody knew anything or if anybody was involved, and they lied, they didn't lie, but they just said, no, they don't know anything. So she said, well, I need to update all your records. So she gave everybody a 5x7 card to write everything down, name, address, phone number. Then she went by and she picked them all up on the side without touching the cards and picked them up and she put them in the front of the class and she put them all in an envelope. She sealed the envelope, she put it in the desk drawer and she locked it. And she told the whole class that now she had everybody's fingerprints. So it was a great way to scare kids. And I don't know what happened to the story, who did what, and if it wasn't anybody in her class, but that was the kind of teacher she was. She was pretty funny. So those are just one other memory, just real quick. So my mom was like the first line of defense at the school because she was a secretary. So she did like the attendance records, and that's important because that's how the school got funding, so she had to make sure that all the kids were there. She documented everything. She made copies for all the teachers, so there was a mimeograph machine. I got to help make copies. She had the supply room stocked,
So I got to do that. That was kind of fun. She was in communication with the buses, so if there was a bus late, oh gosh, had to call the school. She was always the last one at the school waiting for kids to come, parents to come pick up their kids. She was the complaint department. Everybody told her, complained about everything, but she was the nurse before there was a school nurse. So sometimes she even splinted broken bones before the fire department showed up. That was in the early years. She checked for head lice. She gave out medications. She took your temperature. She gave you ice packs. She calmed you down if you were crying. And she called your parents all the time. And she cleaned up your mess. She was always cleaning up stuff. So my mom retired in 1997, and she passed away in 2015. And I never knew, but she was a mom to everybody, not just me.
Yes.
So
She was.
everybody came and said how great it was to have her there because they could always rely on her and talk to her. So those are the memories that I have of my school year. And then Randa, so this is the end. So this is the new old school, and then just a picture of the mountains of the playground. And then if Randa wants to show the last picture, she can. It's up to her. And there's her daughter.
That's my daughter who went to school with Mary.
Anyway, that's it.
I just wanna say, no one has mentioned the smell of purple dittos yet. Remember those? We would sniff them? Ooh, yeah.
Hello everyone, my name's Ivan Sewell, and just real quick, my cousin was actually 10 years older than I am, and she went to school at Winslow, and Mary's mother retired, I think the year that I got to Winslow, so my cousin actually has a lot of memories of Mary's mother. Mary was pulling out some old yearbooks, and we found my cousin, and it's definitely a small community. But I was born in 1987, just for some context. So I started school in 1992, if you want to move forward one. And that was at Julius Corsini. There I am standing at the park above Julius Corsini. I really enjoyed going to school and growing up in Desert Hot Springs just because it was a pretty small community, and I feel like everyone knew each other still. I think we were about 10,000 people maybe in the mid-90s or so. But then in second grade, I was identified to join the GATE program in third grade, which was Gifted and Talented Education, and that's really what kind of, I think, shaped my entire life. Some of my friends in that GATE program, the best man at my wedding, and some of my best friends still to this day, were in that class. So it was already a small community, but then joining GATE, I feel like we had a really close group of 15 or so students that we continued all throughout middle school and high school together. Then in fourth grade, they decided to move the GATE program to Ed Winslow, if you want to move forward. Oh, this is still some Corsini photos. I received perfect attendance in second grade, and they gave me a watch, and then I lost it about a week later. But if you want to move forward, so fourth grade, they moved the GATE program to Ed Winslow, and at the time, the mid-90s, there was three elementary schools, Bubbling Wells at the south end of town, Corsini was out at the east end, and then only about 100 yards from here is Ed Winslow Elementary. And they had just named it Ed Winslow Elementary right before I started, in honor of their longtime principal. If you want to move forward one, I'm trying to remember what I had. That fourth and fifth grade at Ed Winslow, I think, was a big moment in my education. I had a combination class, and my teacher was Mrs. Bricker, so I had her for fourth and fifth grade. But she's really the teacher that I think sticks out to me for my whole education. She really inspired us to kind of be lifelong learners. And for our fifth grade graduation, she took a group of us out to a fancy restaurant. Something I feel like was just a good memory. It's hard to see, but some of my best friends are there in the background. And one of the girls in the front was our valedictorian in high school, our graduation. This is the front of Winslow. They had the highway patrol come in one day. A lot of good memories at Winslow. And then if you want to move forward, I do have proof that I graduated. If you want to go another one. So then middle school at the time, we did have one middle school here in town, and that was Desert Springs Middle School down by Vaughn's. They had not yet made Painted Hills Middle School. But the town was definitely growing, if you want to move one. There's a couple ID photos of me. But this was a important part of my childhood. I guess I missed a part of, in that 4th and 5th grade combination class, I was able to join the band a year early because typically you had to wait till 5th grade. So I joined in 4th grade, and that was a big part of my development. I stayed in band through high school. I told my parents I wanted to play the trumpet, and they found a really good deal on a clarinet at the pawn shop, so that started my music career. But if you want to move one forward, this is middle school marching band. A lot of the gate students that I was grouped with from elementary school joined the band as well, and we also continued throughout middle school and high school. The next one I think is in 7th grade I started to play the guitar, and I joined the jazz band at the middle school, and this was actually one of the opening days at the high school. So right after the high school was built, they had a whole celebration, and they had our jazz band from the middle school come out. And our band director, also holding the bass guitar, was Mr. Gary Coble. He taught for I think 35 years at Desert Springs Middle School and just recently retired. But he was another big part of my childhood. So that's the next one. The next one might be high school slide. Oh, yes, one more. Oh, so typically, just a few years prior, when you graduated middle school in town, you had to make the decision if you wanted to go to Cathedral City or Palm Springs High School. Luckily for me though, you can see this is my 8th grade graduating class. The town had grown quite a bit, and Palm Springs Unified decided to build a high school here in town. So that saved me from getting up at about 5 in the morning and riding the bus across the freeway. So they opened the high school in 1999, and they opened with just freshmen and sophomore students. So then when I started high school in 2001, I was the first freshman class when they had all 4 grade levels. If you want to move forward. I don't think I like taking pictures in high school because I don't have many photos from high school. But I was very grateful to have the high school in town. It was something I think we really had a lot of camaraderie and pride that we had a high school to call our own. Our principal at the time that opened the school was Mr. Dan Kinley, and he really went above and beyond to kind of instill in us just school spirit, and it was really a good atmosphere. I can remember if you were getting dropped off in front of the school, he would make sure you kissed your mother goodbye before. He was just formed a lot of personal relationships with the students, and I still have a relationship with him to this day. What's the next one? If you want to move on. Oh, some ID cards. I don't know what I was thinking with my hair.
It was the cool thing.
Yeah. But high school was really nice. I enjoyed the high school because they had a block schedule at the time. So instead of your typical 6 or 7 classes throughout the year, we had 4 classes in the fall and 4 classes in the spring. And to me, that was really beneficial. I was still taking honors and AP classes, and so I could double up and take multiple math and science classes in one academic year. And I think that really helped me kind of go the route I did. But I continued in the band program. Our director at the time was Mr. Jeff Garcia. He wasn't my favorite teacher, but he really pushed us to kind of get outside of our comfort zone, and we went to a lot of competitions. We were able to go to San Francisco, Reno, Nevada, and we even went to New Orleans one year. So that was the first time I think many of us ever got on an airplane. But just really grateful for the education I had here in Desert Hot Springs, and that I was able to stay in Desert Hot Springs for my entire K through 12 with the high school being built. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mrs. Sewell.
I'm like, all right, response. Oh, hi, friends. I am Breanna Sewell, and I am a small business owner, realtor, and a community volunteer who decided to become a teacher. So in my story here in the desert starts in 2015, and I think it's important to kind of give a very short history of that. I'm ready. All right, so why did I become a teacher? I had a wonderful grandfather who really instilled a lot of reading and education, and helped determine my path that way. So I developed a reading corner, and I did some YouTube videos of stories and read-alouds there. I volunteer at leadership camps that are for 7th graders and juniors in high school. And then in 2016, I helped bring back the Interact at the Desert Hot Springs High School. So I was volunteering a lot, spending a lot of hours with the kids, and doing that through the Rotary Club, helping provide college scholarships through the Women's Club and the Rotary Club. And then in 2016, I also ran for College of the Desert Board of Trustees. I did not win that seat, but I surely learned a lot. A little bit of timing on that, I was only 25 years old when I pursued that big challenge, but it was a lot of fun. So that's a little bit. So I earned my bachelor's degree at Cal State University Fullerton, graduated in 2014 with a business degree. And I had no idea I wanted to get into education at all, really. But then in 2019, I started as a substitute teacher at Palm Springs Unified, and I had some opportunities where the first position that I had was a 2-day math substitute teaching at Desert Springs Middle School, and I came home crying. I told Ivan, I am not going back. I don't even want to go for the second day. These kids are terrible. They're so mean to me. Like, they are just, oh my gosh, you know? And I wish that my first experience hadn't been that, right? Because middle schoolers were not very kind to my 27-year-old, 28-year-old self. But then I had the opportunity to substitute at an elementary school level, and that was fantastic. I was actually a sub in a position where I was like a response person for behavioral situations. And so I remember one time specifically, I get a call on my walkie to go to a first grade classroom, and I had spent a lot of time visiting this first grade classroom during my 3 or 4 weeks that I was assigned to this position. And this little boy, I'll never ever forget him. I still see him out in the community, and he runs up to me now and gives me a hug, which is a lot better than our first physical interaction, which was an elbow straight to my nose, as I was trying to take scissors and pencils out of his hand, trying to avoid him stabbing me. So I will take the hugs now in preference. I'm ready for that. And then I went to University of Redlands to pursue my teaching credential and master's degree in learning and teaching. So that will take us to 2020. So 2019, 2020, I pursued the substitute teaching, but in 2020, COVID-19 caused the world to shut down. So that was March 13th, and there was no longer a need for substitute teachers, at least for the rest of that academic year, because teachers could teach from home. And so even if they were sick, they were still teaching, and no one was going on vacation, so there wasn't a need for me. So I took the rest of that year off. Ready? 2020, I was hired as a site sub. So COVID-19 brought some different funds, became available for the school district and for the school sites. And so each school had a site substitute, and so I was hired for that. And so I would pop in and help teachers when they were teaching online, and this was all Zoom teaching. And so I would go into like breakout sessions. If I didn't have a position for the day, I would hop onto one of the teachers' Zoom calls and help them with that. It was a lot of fun. It was an interesting way to get started with my teaching, because I could mute the kids, right? So I was learning how to deliver my teaching in a totally uninterrupted situation. I was learning the curriculum really well. I was able to dive deeply. I learned how to use technology and bring it to the classroom, and it was really a unique time to start. And I often feel like some teachers will say, well, this wasn't how it was before COVID. I don't have that comparison. So my only experience is post-COVID, truly. So that first year, we went from 100% virtual teaching to a hybrid situation where kids were in the school only half the day and we had only half the kids there Mondays and Tuesdays and the other half on Thursdays and Fridays, and it was crazy. But every year, well, I was so sad that I couldn't see my students, all of them in one setting. They never got to be together for 3rd grade. So I asked my principal what I could do about that. And she said, well, I can't tell you what you can't do on Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. So I said, oh, really? So I invited all of my families to meet me at the park at the end of the school year. And this is one picture. I was really conscientious about not including students' pictures in my presentation today, but this family has become really close friends of mine now. This is Brody, and Brody was in my first ever 3rd grade class, all on Zoom and hybrid, but they all met me at the park. And I think out of my 26 students, I think about 23 or 24 of them all came that day. And we passed out snacks. Ivan and I hosted a picnic for them, and we gave them each a gift, and we took pictures by the sign. It was so much fun. Crazy hair day. I try and dress up for every single thing. And then that was actually on Zoom. We did crazy hair day on Zoom. And my signature earrings were also established during Zoom. So if you think about it, it's really hard to be animated and keep the interest of students online, right? And so it became where every single day I would wear different earrings, and it would become something the kids were recognizing and noticing. And so we had that connection. Right, I'm ready. So continuing on, I finished my, I had the opportunity to start with this online teaching early. So my teaching credential, I was supposed to either do student teaching or an internship January of 2021. But being that site substitute at Cabot Yerxa gave me this in. A teacher was leaving in October and going to a different school in a 3rd grade class. And my principal said, well, look, I can put you as a long-term sub for that class. Do you want it? I said, yes, absolutely. So I did that. And then I made a connection with the University of Redlands to the school district, and I convinced them to let me start my internship early. So I was getting paid instead of having to do student teaching, which is unpaid. So it was really a fantastic opportunity for me. I continued teaching 3rd grade, 2021, 2023, still at Cabot Yerxa. I was hired on there for my first 2 years of induction. Induction is a required program for new teachers. And you have a coach that you meet with once a week, and they really mentor you on lesson planning, and if you have any need for suggestions for behavior management and classroom management and so forth. So I did that. I also signed up for everything. If there is an opportunity for me to do continued education and trainings, I am doing my best to sign up. I took advantage of this LETTERS program, which is a literacy program that was offered for 2 years, and so I have that certificate as well. And then Pajama Day, of course. All right, ready? So I am now at Two Bunch Palms Elementary School, so this is my 2nd year there. My 6th year of teaching this year, and I have had the wonderful opportunity to go from 3rd grade to 4th grade with the same group this year. So I have 30 students in my class. I have, out of the 30, 4 students are on IEPs, which is an individualized education plan, and I have 7 students that are still pending IEPs. So there is a lot of need in my class, in our schools, in our community, and we need to make sure that we are advocating for our students to have the resources that they need, and the help that they deserve, I love staying connected with my families. Sebastian and his mom He was a student at Cabot Yerxa, and I meet up with them every few months. This was one of our outings at Lizzie's. This is one of my current students, Jimena. This is my second year of having her, and she invited Ivan and I to her first communion celebration. And so we are definitely involved in my students' lives outside of the classroom as well. We show up for soccer games and baseball games, and we've been, I've made home visits when my students are ill. We've brought cookies to a family who had a passing, so my teaching is not just in the four walls of a classroom. It's everywhere, and it has to be. So you are perfect, and they truly are. Next. So what makes me the teacher that I am? Continuous learning and growing, both as an educator and a person. I continuously am looking for ways to invest in myself and to volunteer for the betterment of our community and our schools. Here I am pictured with our bargaining team. So I represent the Palm Springs Teachers Association as a bargaining member. So I do that. This is my third year with that. I graduated from the Letters program. And then these are two of my teacher besties. We taught third grade together at Cabot Yerxa. They've now gone on to different responsibilities, but we still meet regularly, and we call it spill the tea happy hour. So it's really nice for us teachers to have that camaraderie because it's a unique profession, and I can't, dump all of my feelings to someone that doesn't truly get it. So it's really important. Right. So how can you help? You can help by volunteering. Come on in, right? There is a process for Palm Springs Unified School District. You must get live scanned and background checked and all that, but hey, you're working with my kids. I need to make sure you're a safe person. These are just a few of our volunteers here. So Judy and Mr. Frank, who is in the back, Jackie and Ivan, they all went on a field trip with me last year to the Agua Caliente Cultural Museum, and they've continued to go on field trips. Recently we went to the Mission Creek Preserve just 2 weeks ago, and Mr. Frank and Ivan joined me for that. Mary has gone on that one with me as well, and so has Judy. And I absolutely love it. John, I think, even went on a field trip with me as well. But getting my community involved is making these field trips possible, because so many of my families can't make it for field trips. Whether they have other children at home that they need childcare for, or whatever it is, work and other responsibilities. So I am very thankful for my volunteers and my friends who make the effort to be a part of my classroom. I'm also thankful I do a lot of Donors Choose fundraisers, and so many of my friends and family support me in giving my students what they need, because let's be honest, while the school district does provide some, they are not providing all that we need, and I am very thankful. So thank you if you are part of that. There are other opportunities through the Palm Springs Unified School District Foundation. If you are interested, they also have a variety of events you can attend. I included this picture because Ivan and I kind of have a running joke. Anytime we see a library or a bookstore or anything, I have to go in it, right? I have to. And I have a very, very hard time walking out of the children's section, especially when they're, $2, $3 books. I've been known to spend a couple $100 in one sitting, just because I'll be like, oh, well, this student needs this book, and oh, this student likes dogs, and we have to get one for every kid. So that's one of the things I do for Christmas, is we wrap a book for each child, and the books do stay in the classroom, but the books are then opened by the children, and they have ownership of the books in our classroom. So in my classroom, I'd say I have about 2,000 books or so. Ivan's like more than that. Judy has helped me organize those books. So there are a lot of books, but I want to make sure that every child has access to a book that will pique their interest. So that's one of my main goals there. I think that's it, but I absolutely love being a teacher. It is the hardest job I have ever done, the hardest, And I've created businesses from scratch before, so you can think about that. Some challenges that we're facing at school are definitely behaviors. Student behaviors are outrageous in some cases, and the help, it's very difficult because our hands are seemingly tied. There are no more paddles, not that I would want one, but what can we do is the question on the table about behaviors. What can we do? How can we help get our parents on board? How can we convince the state of California that, you know, we should have a little bit more in our pocket to be able to help our kiddos? And I think just one last thing, mental health services are so important, and I cannot beg enough, right? If you see anything coming in on the ballot coming up, Prop 55 will be sunsetting, I think it's 55, sunsetting in 2 years, and that is going to be very, very important that we get that passed again. That's a huge chunk of our budget for our school district, and it only affects the taxes for those at the 700,000 and above income brackets. So please, please, please support Prop 55 when that comes around. Thank you. All right.
Dr.
Finale.
Funchess has our final word today, talking about whatever he wants to talk about. We didn't leave you much time. but
Good afternoon,
take the
everyone.
time
How are
you
you?
need.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Good. I am Marcus Funchess. I'm the proud new superintendent of Palm Springs Unified School District. I'm a 30-year veteran educator. And I want to say thank you to our educators and our visitors here today, our participants. I appreciate you allowing me to come in and speak with you today. Thank you to our presenters and showing the nostalgic photos that even brought me back to my own childhood in schools. I wouldn't show mine. I was in the principal's office. No, I'm just kidding. But I want to say thank you for your service and thank you for what you do for our community. I'm going to spend a little bit of time today just trying to paint a picture about the future, moving ahead for Palm Springs Unified School District, and in particular, Desert Hot Springs. But before I do that, I want to thank our Board of Education as well, Mr. John Gerardi, who's on hand. I want to thank him for his leadership in selecting me to go on this journey with the school district. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I look forward to some great years ahead. That's right. But I served 27 years of my career in San Bernardino City Unified School District as a 10-year teacher at the elementary level, as a school site principal, vice principal, and I served in some of the highest needs schools in a high needs community like San Bernardino. And then I became a director of human resources, and I also served as an assistant superintendent in San Bernardino City Unified School District. In San Bernardino City Unified School District, 73 schools, 8,000 employees, 4 unions and such. And the reason I bring that up is because I have a lot of experience working in high needs communities and knowing how to work with people from an HR lens. And so when Dr. Tony Signore announced his retirement, and I looked at Palm Springs School District and the things that our school district was doing, I thought it would be very, very beneficial if I could join Palm Springs and help it continue to move towards its mission and vision of valuing diversity, making sure that all scholars, no matter what their background is, feel like they have a great sense of belonging for being here, and making sure that we value our educators here as well in all of our communities, from Rancho Mirage to Desert Hot Springs to Palm Springs to Cathedral City and all of the greater Coachella Valley. And so when I came on board, July 1, I began to meet with as many people as I could, right? From our city council to our mayor to educators to leaders, to get a good sense of who we were. And I had this 100-day plan to come in to listen, learn, to build, and to plan for the future. And I've been able to do that. And a few things that stood out to me within those 100 days were our community is looking for us to unite around a common vision moving forward. And I'll come back to that. But our community is looking for a common vision to unite us to move forward. Also, as Breanna shared, looking for ways to make sure that we continue to build positive behavior supports. Meaning our scholars in our schools behave in a certain way and us having the resources to make sure that we help them get there. And Palm Springs Unified does this like no other that I've joined or been a part of. The mental health supports and services that are here, they are excellent. As a matter of fact, they should be award-winning in my opinion, and we want to continue to expand on those. But another thing that came out of that 100-day entry plan was our community was loud and clear about Desert Hot Springs. And how many of you have lived here for quite some time, gone to school here on this side of the freeway? Raise your hand with me. And if you have, what I've heard is there is a perception that we may not care as much about the community on this side of the freeway. Have you heard that? And the reason I say that's a perception, because I'm still learning about what we do, but I can tell you from my experience here with working with John Gerardi and the board, we have a strong care and commitment to Desert Hot Springs. But me, as the new superintendent, I'm gonna make sure that I spend much more time on this side of the freeway, showing up at events and doing what I need to do to try to put to rest that perception, if you will. And so I'll go back to what I said here earlier. One of the first things that we have embarked on is a multi-year vision. Meaning, what do we want to become, or who do we want to become, and what are we going to do between now and 2030? Because without a vision, no one knows. You just have a bunch of silos and people doing whatever they want to do. But when you have a shared vision and you put forth shared values and a common mission, we all know where we're going. So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about where we are as a country, where we are as a community, where we are as a nation in terms of technology usage, in terms of our scholars having access to science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and why that's important. I want you to think about that, because our young people are technological natives. They were born into technology. As soon as they come out of the womb, if you will, they have access to iPads and everything else, right? They have access to online, everything online. I've seen 2-year-olds holding phones in their hands, right? And the reason that I want you to begin to think about that is because STEM and STEAM is the way of the future. It's the way that we engage young people in our schools nowadays. It's the way young people have a chance to compete. So I want you to picture this. Picture walking into Desert Springs Middle School, or picture walking into one of our local elementary schools, a 6th grade classroom. And you encounter a young lady that turns around, one of our young scholars that turns around and tells you, hey, I am working on a project. I am coding to help expand renewable energy across my Desert Hot Springs community for people who live in certain areas. I'm gonna repeat that. I am working on a project, I am coding to help expand renewable energy for families that live in our Desert Hot Springs community. Can our scholars do things like that? Can you imagine them doing projects like that that takes high levels of reading, math, science, and technology? That's the way of the future, and that's the way of Palm Springs Unified School District, and that's where we're headed. Also want you to imagine going into one of our high schools, as a matter of fact, Desert Hot Springs, and you run into a young man that is becoming a medical professional, right? And that young man who is becoming a medical professional will have an opportunity to do what we've been looking to do, to change how we address cancer research, to change how we go about shaping lives of people that have suffered from Alzheimer's disease. Picture that. That's the type of school district that we want to become. Our scholars are smart, intelligent, and full of greatness. Let's say that again. Our young people are smart, they are intelligent, and they are full of greatness. So as we put together this multi-year vision, that will have some of your voice that is sitting here as you have time to take some of our surveys. We want to imagine what Desert Hot Springs and what Palm Springs Unified can become between now and the near future. Are you with me?
Yes.
Can our young people do what I just talked about? And even more, right?
Yes.
It's about exposing them to the opportunities. It's about building their confidence, and it's about making sure that we give them those opportunities. That's all that I have for you today with the time that I have. But I wanted to give you a little glimpse about where, based on where we're going, and what I've heard from the community, and the excitement that I have for Palm Springs Unified School District. I am glad to be here. I am excited about serving as your superintendent for years to come. And I can guarantee we're gonna do some great things for the city of Desert Hot Springs and the greater Coachella Valley and Palm Springs Unified School District. Thank you very much.